Welcome to Mystical Dispute, the limited Magic the Gathering debate podcast. I'm Garrett Gardner, aka G-Guards.
And I'm Carl Chase, aka 2Duck Cubed.
Just like every week that you've heard from us for the past few months and years, etc., you can check out our Patreon at patreon.com/Mystical Dispute. And today, we are going to debate Cryogen Relic versus
2 Cryoshatters.
2, yes. And Cryogen Relic is 1 and a blue for an artifact. When it enters or leaves the battlefield, draw a card, and it has 1 and a blue, sack it to put a stun counter onto up to 1 target tapped creature. While Cryoshatter is a single blue for an enchanted creature gets -5/-0, and whenever it becomes tapped or is dealt damage, destroy it. I think we can talk about it a little bit more in this corner.
Opening takes.
Carl, so what are you saying here? You're saying that you would take 1 copy of Cryogen Relic over 2 copies of Cryoshatter?
Goddamn right, Garrett. What a way to come back, by the way. Here we are, and not only am I so confident in my take that I was going to take Cryogen Relic over Cryoshatter, but I am so confident that I will give you 2 of the copy of your card and still beat you in this debate. Yes, that is not at all how drafting works. Or maybe it is. I don't know. We haven't done this in about 18 months, so maybe it is how drafting works today. Who knows, Garrett? Kids these days.
I don't know. I haven't been keeping up, but my original take was going to be arguing Cryoshatter over Cryogen Relic, but then Carl and I co-streamed, and he was like, take this relic. I ended up with 3 relics, and I noticed something, Carl, is that basically every card in this format is fantastic with Cryogen Relic. So I knew, I actually said to you before we started recording, I was like, I always lose anyway. So I'm happy to take the Cryoshatter, but I'll take the L here. But then you up the ante, and now you're saying you would take it over some kind of weird draft where you get to take 2 Cryoshatters at once.
Yeah. So like if when you were in Arena, just all of a sudden out of nowhere, it was just like 2 little copies kind of right there. There's a little 2 on it, and you got a choice between those 2.
Yep.
I'm taking 1 Cryogen Relic over 2 Cryoshatters.
What a way to come back, Carl. Like you said, we've been gone for 18 months. I've missed you very much. I had open heart surgery in that time.
You did.
It was pretty crazy time. And then Carl and I, we met up in Vegas just a few weeks ago, and we were like, oh yeah, well, at least I won't speak for you, Carl, but I was like, oh yeah, I like this guy. I forgot that I enjoy his company, so maybe we should play this lovely game together.
I'm not ready to admit that I like you in public.
Okay.
In a recorded fashion.
Well,
but
that's fine.
I am kind of excited for this episode and trouncing you with my words.
Okay. Well, you know what that means, Carl, is we need to go to the next segment where we look at the numbers in
Data Crunch.
I missed that more than I should probably admit.
I actually think that the only reason we're recording this episode is just so I could do that. So now I'm good. I'm done.
We did the thing. Mission completed.
We did the thing. I'm out. Yeah, whatever.
I mean, really, let's be honest. This episode is for us because the best way to gain viewers on a podcast is not recording it for 18 months. So really, this is more for us than it is for you guys. Sorry.
Consistency is meaningless, is the saying when you make any kind of content.
That's the one.
That's true.
Anyway.
Yeah, but what do the numbers say, Carl? Do your thing.
First of all, Cryogen Relic is the number 1 game in hand win rate common in the entire set. It is the number 1 improvement when drawn common in the entire set. Basically, that means that you are going to win more often when you draw it versus when you don't draw the card. The other bonus stat that I'm going to throw at you right now is 17 Lands has this fun little filter where you can filter to just the top players that are playing and recording their data on 17 lands. And amongst top players, Cryogen Relic is a full 2.2 points better than the next highest win rate card.
Wait, 2.2?
Yes, it is for top players 64.2% versus the next highest card.
Wow. That's got to be one of the biggest gaps I've ever seen, like with the caveat that we haven't played for 18 months, but still pretty stark difference between the top 2 commons among the top players. On the other hand, Cryoshatter has a 56.4% game in hand win rate, which is, a bit average around the middle of the pack. Among top players, it is around 60.7% game in hand win rate, which is about 3.5 points lower than Cryogen Relic. So pretty significant drop there, but I still love it. And we'll get into that in the next section. But overall, 2 really good blue commons.
And literally, again, 2 really good commons in Cryoshatter is what I've got to compete against with my 1 Cryogen Relic. We had to even the playing field.
Yeah, you got to remember here that Carl is literally taking 1 card for the opportunity cost of 2 cards here. I feel like you don't do that very often, but I don't know. People are mid on Cryoshatter, so I'm going to curious how people react to this one. But let's get into the meat of this debate, Carl, and let's go into
Debate it.
I'll start us off, Carl, because I was ready to throw hands. I feel like Cryoshatter's not getting enough love and attention for being essentially Swords of Plowshares at common in blue. The data is not supporting my view, but my personal experience certainly is. Blue has a double spell theme, and generally just removal spells that cost 1 are fantastic to double spell when you are out-temping your opponents, which is a great thing and goal to have, I think, when people are playing their giant stations and just tapping their creatures for no reason. I feel like so far I've gotten a lot of success at just running people over by curving out and playing things like Cryoshatter.
Garrett, I'll add to your case here that it's the type of card that is going to fare a bit better in a more controlling deck, right?
Yeah.
The one thing that Cryoshatter doesn't do is get rid of a blocker. And a lot of times that's a really nice feature of a removal spell, right? If you're in a race, if you're remove a creature, swing in, get the damage in, get the win. Cryoshatter doesn't do that. It is going to make it so they can't trade with your attacker, just get a chump block. But we know that there is value of a chump block.
Yeah, I'm not going to deny that. Like, you're not literally removing a blocker and getting in for lethal, but a lot of the times it effectively removes a blocker, it gains them some life because they're never really blocking profitably with whatever they have been Cryoshattered on. Like, I still think it works with the tempo because when you are racing someone, or if they have creatures that are already tapped, big power, toughness creatures that are already tapped to station something, or maybe they have flyers, you're going to suddenly win the race if you can double or even triple spell sometimes when you shatter one of their creatures and just run them over. Like, one goal I have with this episode is to say I think this card is great. It's probably not one of the best commons in the set, but I think it is still quite good, and you're going to get use out of it in anything. And here's one more thought, Carl, is that I think it is especially good with Cryogen Relic, which is the card you're defending. Because when you are drawing 50 billion extra cards, it is very good when those cards cost 1.
Not only is it good when those cards cost 1, but if you're double spelling and getting advantage off of that, then it really makes your turns seamless as a result of that.
Yeah.
So definitely it's humorous that the cards we're debating are exactly cards you want to pair together in a lot of decks. And again, in your case here, I'm arguing your case for you, you're going to get 2 of these in this mythical draft that we have somehow created. So now, not only do you get to stop 1 creature, you get to stop 2 creatures. I mean, you don't actually draw 2 at the same time. Then that would be completely absurd. You get to put them both in your deck.
I know, Carl. I know what you're saying. You get to put them both in your deck. They still taking up space in your deck, but at the same time, you're getting 2, I'd argue, premium pick commons for the price of just 1 relic. So, I mean, those are harsh words. I will say I would concede to you that after playing with it, Relic is better than Cryoshatter, which is bananas to me. But I don't know about 2, Carl. You're going to have to convince me on that one. I feel like I would rather have 2 Shatters over a Relic.
Well, I guess it's my turn to convince you why I'm taking 1 Relic here. I'm ready, Garrett. Let's go. Garrett, I think this is maybe the best common that I have played with since Organ Hoarder.
Wow.
On the surface, it's a little bit unassuming, right? You look at it, you're like, I'm going to pay 2 for 1 card, I'm going to pay 2 for another card, I get a small effect out of it, keep something tapped for 1 turn. But then you start to play with it more in the context of the set, and you realize it combos with so many of the other already solid commons in the set. The most important combination is its interaction with Self-Craft Mechan. Self-Craft Mechan is 3 3 and a blue for a 3/4 artifact creature. When this creature enters, you may sacrifice an artifact, and when you do, you can put a +1/+1 counter on a creature and draw a card. If you don't have an artifact in play, or if you don't have like a good artifact to sacrifice and play, this creature is very mediocre. If you have a Cryogen Relic in play, it becomes extremely good. All of a sudden, this thing becomes, a 4/5 Muldrifter, essentially, or a 3/4, and you get to put a +1/+1 counter on a flyer, or, get an extra point of damage in, get a blocker through. It becomes one of the better commons and interactions at common in the set.
And Carl, just to pile on to you there, this card really does have synergy with like everything in the set. There's things that bounce your own permanents, and it's a leave the battlefield draw a card, not just when it dies. And plenty of ways to sacrifice. There's the black removal spell that you can sacrifice a creature or artifact to destroy something. It's just like endless ways in which to get value out of your relic. Carl, would you say most of the time you build around this card, you're actually not even paying the 2 to sacrifice it? You're just using some synergy to sacrifice it or get value?
I think it's about 50-50, but a lot of times that extra tap really makes a difference too. And I think that's the thing that I didn't consider at first, is that if you're paying 2 mana to draw a card, or 4 mana to draw a card, one of the best things you can do is slow your opponent down. And so the add a stun counter to a tapped creature is it's an effect that is somewhat mediocre in the grand scheme of things, but when you pair it with drawing 2 cards, it's actually pretty darn good. It's exactly what you want at the time when you're drawing 2 cards. So it is better than it looks on the surface on its own. Compare this to a card like Dreams of Laguna in the Final Fantasy set. That was, 2 mana draw a card and surveil, and then flashback for 4. Cryogen Relic's already drawing cards at a cheaper rate, and yes, it's 4 mana in total, but the fact that you can do it in 2 mana chunks is a really big deal, especially when there's double spell triggers in the set. Dreams of Laguna was already a very playable card. Now, and part of that was because it cost 4 mana and there was a 4 mana theme, but Cryogen Relic is already a better rate on the surface. Then you start to pair it with cards like Exosuit Savior. Garrett, like you mentioned, that's going to return a permanent to the battlefield, and your 2 mana artifact becomes Tidings very quickly. You pair it with some otherwise somewhat mediocre commons in black, like a card like Embrace Oblivion, which is a somewhat mediocre card overall, but 1 mana, kill a creature, draw a card is fantastic, and it avoids you having to spend the 2 mana to sack your Cryogen Relic to get your second card. You can sack it for 3 with the 3/2 that sacks to surveil. You can sack it with the Swarm color that sacks things when it attacks. It triggers Void, by the way, which of course is a very important interaction. It basically combos with every darn card in the set, Garrett.
Yeah, and I know you already mentioned it, but the Self-Craft Mechan combo is just truly bananas. 4 mana, draw 2 cards for a 4/5 or a 3/4, and then you get to bro something else. I feel like people don't pick that card very highly.
Yes.
It has pretty decent game in hand win rate stats, probably because of Cryogen Relic, and you pair those 2 cards and it's just, you're so far ahead in the game.
Yeah, looking at the stats here, maybe Self-Craft Mechan is like the 20th highest picked common, and so that's going to go fairly late, especially with play boosters and there being a lot of uncommons. Like, you can really pick up the Self-Craft Mechans, I don't want to say for free, but often you can get them on the wheel, and once you have that card, all you want is just a bajillion Cryogen Relics.
But I am here still to defend Cryoshatter, so just to circle back on that a little bit, Carl, I have been getting Cryoshatters in the back half of packs. I've had decks with like 4 or 5 of them, and I'm like never sad about it, especially when you pair it with the Relic, because you're drawing lots of cards and you just want to vomit your hand out and blow people up. I really think this card's underrated right now. I'm curious where it's going to land by the end of the format. Now, if we're being real, the average last seen at is 4.89, making it the second highest picked blue common after Cryogen Relic. So maybe this is just a little bit of a selection bias for me, but I still feel like I want to take these shatters high and often. And I don't know, man. I'm more than happy to have 2 over a Relic. You take your Relic, I'll get my 2 shatters, and then I'll wheel 2 more Relics. How's that sound?
I will give it to you that it goes later than Bombard, for example. 3 mana, deal 4 damage at common and red. And I think Cryoshatter is overall a better card. I mean, there's such a massive difference between 1 mana and 4 mana. But for a super impatient player like me, Garrett, that that just wants to smash face and get the game over with, I really hate that extra chump block.
Yeah, that must be what it is for people, but I don't mind it all. Like, there's so many gigantic creatures in this format as well. All I want to do is play 2 or 3 spells in a turn. That's all I want to do, Carl.
I will say there was a really funny interaction if they're playing green and they cast Diplomatic Relations on a big creature that has been Cryogen Relic'd. It gives it +1/+0 in Vigilance, and it can swing without killing itself then.
Yeah, I did die to that earlier today. I was a little sad about that, Carl, but overall, I still defend my Cryo Baby. It's so funny, by the way, how similar these 2 card names are, Cryoshatter and Cryogen Relic. 2 peas in a pod.
Cryo me a river.
Oh, boy. Jeez. Well, Carl, let's wrap it all up in...
Closing arguments.
I mean, my first closing argument is that I would definitely have conceded to you. I probably would have still done it for the episode's sake, saying Cryoshatter over Cryogen Relic. But once you up the ante to giving me 2 Cryoshatters, there's no way, Carl. I that's where I'm gonna be at. I love Cryoshatter. I love making my opponent's creatures little guys for 1 mana. Little cold guys. They got little cold. They're cold. They're freezing. They need a coat. It's sad.
One of the adjustments that I feel like I've had to make in Modern Limited is that there's a lot of really good cards. Gone are the days when a Pillar Field Ox, a 4-mana 2/4, is an acceptable play. Gone are the days when a Wishcoin Crab, a 4-mana 2/5, is an acceptable play.
Yeah.
Gone are the days when Wishcoin Crab +1 toughness would be acceptable either. Anyway, the point that I'm making here, Garrett, is that so many cards have some sort of small incremental value attached to them, whether it's a full 2-for-1 or whether it's some small come into play ability, that you just don't have a lot of cards that make people's decks that are clunkers anymore. And so if you end up with these decks that I think would have worked 10 years ago, that was 11 or 12 removal spells and some creatures, would just mop up in Limited a decade ago. And often that's not good enough without the appropriate amount of value built in today's Limited. So at the same time, though, on the other hand, Limited is faster than it used to be. And so a 1-mana removal spell is fantastic in that faster Limited environment. So I think it just has to be a balance, and part of why I want to take Cryogen Relic higher, yes, even higher than I would take the double Cryoshatter, because you always want flexibility. You always want, on top of being good value to begin with, Cryogen Relic just makes so many other cards in your deck work better as well, and you're just never, ever, ever going to cut the card. So if I can get that early, lock it in, build around it, build around having more value, it makes future cards like Cryoshatter better. It makes future cards like Removal even better. I can play, more of a classic control, knowing that I don't have to get all of my value out of these comes into play creatures. I can just actually draw more cards and kill all their things and eventually, win in the long game.
And I probably shouldn't help you out, Carl, but
that is true.
Taking 1 card over 2 cards sounds pretty ludicrous, but it's not like you're drawing those extra cards and there's only 23 slots in your deck. But I will say one thing to you, Carl. You have drilled into me for literally years now that 1-drops are fantastic. And now we're here talking about how you would rather take a 2-mana don't affect the board over a 1-drop removal spell. Is this real?
That stun counter is offended that you said it does not affect the board, sir.
Yes, of course. And Carl, let me just say, I miss this. I had so much fun over the years making Mystical Dispute, and our lives took us in different directions the past 18 months. Mine was under the operating table really quickly. I had open heart surgery. I was out for like 4 months recovering from that. I am all good now, though. They fixed a heart defect for me, and Carl was there for me and just awesome this whole time. We've been keeping up outside the podcast, but it's really, really awesome to have it back. So thank you all for listening to us. I met a bunch of you in Vegas. Thank you for approaching us and saying hello. Love doing this. Love Magic the Gathering. And most of all, I love you, Carl, in a cool guy way.
Love you too, buddy. When we started recording the podcast today and I started making all of the same errors that I make at the beginning of every single recording, it just felt like home again. And I, as always, enjoyed mopping the floor with you in every single argument that we make. And look forward to doing it again at some amount of frequency, potentially. hopefully. I'm not committing to anything.
Yeah, we'll see, but we're not committing to anything, but this worked out today.
Again, that's the best way to build a podcast is don't commit to anything and get people guessing on the edge of their seats. When there's there going to be another episode? We don't know, but we'll be right there when it comes back.
Well, that about wraps it up, Carl. So thanks for listening to Mystical Dispute. You can support the show on Patreon. I'm Garrett Gardner. You can find me at twitch.tv/gguards.
And I'm Carl Chase. I sometimes am on social media, maybe. Don't worry about it.
No, you can also find him at twitch.tv/gguards.
Good point.
Shout out to 17 Lands for the data. You can support them on Patreon as well. Until next time, stay cryo.
Adios.
Recording. I remember.
We're back, motherfuckers! Let me start that again.